Okay, Shalom. Very quick slide here. Very quick couple of slides that are connected. I've been going on quite a lot recently about pulling evidence to suggest that Moshe is Yeshua. Okay, so this is quite a big statement to make from both a Jewish perspective and from certainly a Christian perspective. So I want to qualify what I've said in some way. Everything that I have analysed, and listening very closely to what the sages have said would indicate that Moshe is the Moshiach. If Yeshua is the Moshiach, he had to have been Moshe in some capacity. There's literally one. There's one Moshiach, and he's got 5 levels of soul. Okay. And I've pointed this out. When he came as Moshe, he was at the 3rd level of soul, Neshama. Okay, this is still contained within the body. So we've got 3 levels of soul that are contained within the body. Don't forget, this is an indivisible phenomena. So this is what I mean by whereas Moshe is Yeshua. When it comes to the level of soul of Moshiach, it's completely indivisible. So that even though there's different levels, I hope you can understand that a soul is completely one. Just as the name YHVH is completely one, although we understand it in terms of 4 separate letters and 5 aspects of that, because the tip of the Yud is counted as a separate aspect. There's a complete, total unity, oneness to that name. Is completely indivisible in any way, shape or form. Yet there's 4 letters. Well, 5 aspects to the name, but 4 distinct letters. So we have this phenomena when it comes to the soul of Moshiach that reflects and represents the name YHVH. We'll see today, you'll see there's a connection with the fact that the Moshiach comes in the name YHVH. Okay, so when I say Moshe is Yeshua, I'm talking about the soul of Moshiach, which is completely, totally indivisible, yet just as the name YHVH is totally and utterly and absolutely one, yet it is represented in 4 distinct letters. Okay, so too the soul of Moshiach is been represented, or it would certainly appear. And don't forget, this conforms to what the sages have said, and even what New Testament has said, and what is written in the Torah itself. And the numbers point to this. So Moshe was incarnated at the level of Neshama. So there's 3 levels of soul that are contained within the human body. That's the Nefesh, which is your basic level of soul, your Ruach, your spirit, and your Neshama, which is your soul, higher level of soul. Then there's the Chaya, and then there's the Yechida, and both of these exist outside. This is how you can end up having out-of-body experiences, because you're connected to an aspect of your soul that actually exists outside of your body. Okay, and that's how you can end up seeing yourself from above. Because there is an aspect, what's called your aura, things like that. Some people have that to a greater or lesser degree. But anyway, there's 5 aspects of the soul, and 2 exist without outside of your body. And I don't know whether you can see, there's icons of the early saints and stuff. They've got this glow around the head, this like aura, if you like. It looks like a sun all the way around the head. That's symbolic of that. The fact that our soul does exist outside our bodies as well as in our bodies. Okay, so these are complicated things, and I don't particularly want to talk about them because I'm definitely not an authority, but just to indicate a little bit what I'm talking about when I say Moshe is Yeshua. Right, let's proceed then. So there's these 5 levels of soul. He incarnated as Moshe when he came as Moses, the first Redeemer. He came at the level of Neshama. Okay, then Moshe had to go into the Erev of exile. He was buried outside of Eretz Israel, even though he begged to be allowed to go in. He wasn't allowed to go in. There was reasons for that. That's the will of YHVH, so that Moshe could be redeeming the lost sparks of holiness trapped in the Erev of exile. Then Yeshua was born. Okay. A complete, total, what's called a Gilgal incarnation of the soul of Moshe. It's the soul of Moshiach. Okay, it's the soul of Moshiach. The Moshiach was born, but at a different. The soul of the Moshiach is what impregnated into the body of Yeshua. But the soul of Moshiach was the soul of Moshe. So the two are one. Moshe is the Moshiach, and we know this because if you take the I've pointed this out many times. I'll probably put a slide up just very clearly identifying this. When you take the word Moshiach YHVH, which is written on a number of times, it's written a number of times in the Tanakh, the Moshiach of YHVH, not the false Moshiach, not the Moshiach in our minds that we create because we have a very limited understanding of the name YHVH. I'm talking about the true Moshiach, the Moshiach of YHVH. Okay, so this comes to 384. 384 is Moshe, 345, plus the ordinal of Moshe, 39. Add them together, it comes to 384. Moshe, 100%, is the Moshiach of YHVH. So we're talking about the soul that first incarnated, the soul of Mashiach first incarnated in Moshe. And then Yeshua. It will come again, and it will be the final appearance of Mashiach, the final appearance of Moshe, the final appearance of Yeshua. It's all one concept. It's just basically the soul of the Mashiach incarnating into a human being. The soul of the Mashiach is utterly and absolutely and completely and totally vast. It's a vast concept, and every single person in humanity has a spark of the soul of the Mashiach. However, the soul of the Mashiach will still incarnate in one person's body in totality, and that one person will be connected to every single human being in the entire world. Okay, and that person who finally incarnates will be known as Mashiach ben Dawid. Okay, Mashiach ben David. So this is what I'm trying to understand. It may be complicated, but it follows what the sages have said. I just want to, one of the things that the sages have said is that what will be, I'll just pull it up, it's like what goes around comes around. Let me see, it was an analysis I did of a rabbi just recently. What goes around, I'll just try and pull it up so you've got an understanding that these is actually what the sages say. Okay, so there's this saying, it's what goes around comes around, or in Hebrew it would be what was is that will be. Ma shehiyeh hu shehiyeh, right? What was is that will be. Or basically what goes around comes around. It comes to 707, which is a significant number because it's 7 times 101, which is Michael. Michael is very important. He's the guardian angel of Israel, and he's also got to be an advocate for the nations, according to Baal Shem Tov. And also I'll probably put this screen up in front of you now, and you will see there's some connection to that. What was is that will be to this verse. Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have chosen you of the crucible of poverty. That's from Isaiah 48:10. Okay, so there's a lot of connections with this verse to Yeshua being the Mashiach, and then obviously that then connects to Moshe being Yeshua, or Moshe being the Mashiach. And there's only one Mashiach. There's one soul of the Mashiach. Okay. But like I said, different levels of the soul incarnate at different times. So the first point on here is, behold, I have refined you, comes to 860, significant number in itself. 122, ordinarily 982, which is 2 times 9, 491, 491. We covered this recently in a teaching. Let me just flick that up so you can see who it is that is being refined and just how significant this is. This has come up in the Pinchas teachings. I'm not expected to go through this particular sheet, this particular slide. So here we are, right? We looked at this in one of the Pinchas teachings, and if you can look on there, you'll see that number 491 very significantly. Okay. It's related to this verse, the 1009. The 1009 is a gematria of both of Hasatan and of Moshiach. Both of them come to 1009. Okay? And that this verse is 4 times that. So we know there's a battle going on here between Hasatan and Moshiach, right here in this verse. And what's this verse all about? It's all about the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. Right, the Yakul Shimene, the Alkol Shimene is a midrash that points out that the ram is Moshiach ben Yosef, the suffering servant who descends into exile with us to protect us from reaching the 50th level from which we couldn't return, and being afflicted for us, bearing the burden of our illnesses and suffering for us. Right, the 3 words highlighted in red, I've pointed out this recently. So you've got and they both went together. Those highlighted letters spell Yeshu, which is the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef suffering within is in exile with his name erased and his memory. So Yeshu stands for Yimach Shemo Uzkro, may his name be erased in his memory, and the letter ayin is removed from the name Yeshua to spell Yeshu, and that's the way the rabbis refer to Yeshua, is this very derogatory term. This is the Torah of Moshe in exile, in Erev Rav exile, but it was the will of YHVH to do that. He's hidden everything. The concept of Moshiach ben Yosef is very, very hidden. Okay, so on there you'll see point 1, and he took the hand. I'll probably put up the fact that 1009 is Hasatan and also Moshiach spelt out. The ordinal and the regular of Moshiach spelt out comes to 109. So you know he made one opposite the other. I pointed this out on a previous lesson that I've just done recently. It's something like Pinchas, Moshe, Satan, Moshiach. Go listen to that teaching. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant teaching. Right, so when he took he took into his hand the fire and the knife. This comes to 1964, the regular and the ordinal together. And you'll notice the reason why I covered this is because the ordinal comes to 208, and 208 is the same as Pinchas, and it's also the same as Moshiach. It's also the same as Yeshua plus Moshe, 81. The filling out of the first filling out of Moshe comes to 81. One of the first fillings out of Yeshua comes to 127. If you add them together, come to 208. Also 208 is Moshiach ben Yosef, 116 plus Moshiach ben David ordinally rectified, which is 92. So Moshiach ben Yosef ordinal comes to 116. Moshiach ben David ordinal comes to 92. When it's rectified, that means it's spelt with additional yod. The reason why I go over these numbers all the time is because the sages say to go over and review your studies 101 times. Okay? Person who reviews their studies 101 times is far greater than somebody who only reviews it 100 times. So we've got to keep going over and over and over and over the concepts. It's very good. You know, it builds up very good neural connections in our brain and helps us to be wired up for redemption and not wired up for exile, because exile causes us to forget. Redemption is all about remembering. How do we remember? We reinforce those neural pathways in our brain so that we have got the truth at the forefront of our brain continuously. So it's very important to keep going over and over and over and over, because we are living in times where we are bombarded with a lot of stress and anxiety, and that causes us to forget. Exile causes us to forget. Worry causes us to forget. We focus only on the things that are before us, which is our worries and our concerns and our exiles and our suffering and our pain and our heartache and our disappointment and all the other things that are come along with exile mentality. So we've got to get a redemption mentality, and that includes remembering Hashem, remembering YHVH and having him before us always. So we've got to do something. We've got to rewire our brain for redemption. We've got to rewire it and reinforce it continuously with the truth. Okay, so that 208 significant. So that's this point 1 is 4 times 491. Nana Nachma Nachma Ma'uman is 491. I did some brilliant teaching on that in the previous teaching. I'm not going to go over it now. Point 3, point 4, point 5, and point 6. Basically Yeshua filled with a Vav. you've got the Yeshua, the ordinal of Yeshua, which is written in point 4, comes to 53. The first fill-in of Yeshua, which is the next bit along in point 4, comes to 118 ordinally. Point 5, that's Yeshua filled out. That means filled as it's said, each letter filled as it's spoken. When the Vav is filled with an Aleph, that comes to 320, which is the same as Yishai, as in David's father is called Yishai, Jesse. That's so 320 is Jesse. If you continue along point 5, you'll see that David ben Yishai, David, son of Jesse, comes to 386, which is exactly the same gematria as Yeshua. So that's why he included that. Point 6, if you add up all those ordinals, 53, 118 and 320, it comes to 491. So that connects us to this verse. Who is this verse talking about? Who is this ram that is Moshiach ben Yosef? Yeshua. Okay, 491 is the 95th prime from 195 equals Hamelech, the king. Okay, and the rest I won't go through. You can pause and you can read it. I went through it in the previous teachings, but I just wanted to go through this point again, 491. Because why? Because it's come up again at this other very significant place. Right, so here we go. We go back to this slide now. Behold, I have refined you. Okay, we've pointed out that the ordinal and the regular come to 982, which is 2 times 491. We've just gone and had a look at that. Let's go on point 2. Stretch forth your hand from Genesis 22. It's really do not stretch forth your hand, but if you take the bit tishlach yadcha, stretch forth your hand, it comes to 772, which is 2 times Yeshua, 2 times 386. It's also 88, and that together comes to 860. So, behold, I have refined you. Who has been refined? Yeshua. Yeshua has been refined on our behalf. Okay, it's refining really the soul of Moshiach till we become, the first Adam fell, and part of his sin is within all of us, but the last Adam, which is Moshiach, will be fully rectified, and we all, as much as we all carry a bit of the sin, we will all carry a bit of the rectification. It's all one man. We are in the process of rectifying Adam. Okay, so that's why that's connected to the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, because it's through the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef that this whole rectification of Adam takes place. And Adam is, Moshiach, but it's also the whole of humanity as well. Right, stretch forth your hand, 772 comes to 88 ordinally. We'll go through that. 860 is a significant number because it's 86 times 10, and 86 is Elohim, and Elohim really represents physicality, our bodies as well. Physicality, and Yod He Vav He represents spirituality. So there's a big connection there. We've got to unite physicality and spirituality as one, body and soul as one. Right, point 3 then. It is Zaharath. I've gone through this in the teachings on leprosy that I've previously done. Where the Talmud says that the Moshiach is a leper from the house of Rabbi Yehuda and Nasai, is his name. So it is Zaharath, means it is leprosy. And that comes to 772, which is 2 times Yeshua. So what does that indicate? That indicates that this Mashiach that the rabbi is talking about in Talmud is Yeshua. It also comes to 88, and that also comes to 860, exactly the same as above. And then I've just put the same stuff down. 772 is 2 times 386, 2 times Yeshua. That's taken from Sanhedrin 98b. If you wanted to go get the source for the rabbis saying that the Mashiach is a leper from the house of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasai is his name. And we've given his name there, look, Yeshua. That's who the Mashiach is. The Mashiach is Yeshua. The Mashiach is Moshe. The Mashiach will be Melech David. Right, 88 comes to Yeshua, ordinal 53 plus Yonah, 35. Okay, there's point 4, I'm just going to let you read that, but my anointed is 430. 430 is also shekel. The Mashiach will need redeeming. My anointed, as in Yod He Vav He's anointed, needs redeeming. It's also point 4, tachlit, the end. That also comes to 860, so it's all connected. Malkuth no, not Malkuth. What is it that's connected to 430? Shekel, Nefesh, that's it. The soul, Nefesh, comes to 430, and Shekel, meaning the redemption of the soul, the Nefesh, Pidyon Nefesh, redemption of the soul. All kinds of things like that, but 430 is quite a significant number that comes up many times. Point 5, however, Yosef, the regular of Yosef 156, ordinal of Yosef 48, and the squared ordinal of Yosef 650. Add them together, come to 854, which is 2 times 427, or 7 times 122. So we've got this whole concept of Yosef connected to 1, behold, I have refined you. We are sharing, like I say, behold, I have refined you. This is talking about Moshiach ben Yosef, but we are all carrying a portion of his soul. Just as we are all carrying a portion of the sin, we are all part of the process of rectifying that sin also. Okay, so we're all connected. But like I say, the soul of Moshiach will incarnate in the body of one man, and we will all be connected to that one man. We will all be connected to Adam. We will all be connected to Moshiach. We'll be all connected to David. We'll be all connected. Okay, humanity will be one. There won't be any more segregation. There won't be any more inequality. There won't be any more gloating or elitism. We'll be connected in one. And it will show that it's all Yod He Vav He. Right, so there, point 6. This is what we're getting to. This is the concept that I'm trying to highlight now when I say about Yeshua being Moshe. What was is that will be. What goes around comes around. 707. I've told you that it's Michael. It's also the stick of Yehuda. That. Just let me double check that. Yeah, I've actually included that now. So, with the stick of Yehuda, which is 0.7, also comes to 707. Moshe will come with the stick of Yehuda, and he will he will connect that to the stick of Yosef, and then we will have one stick and one shepherd, David. Okay, so that we're in a process of attaining that. So Moshe comes with the stick of Yehuda, and in his capacity as Yeshua, he comes with the stick of Yosef, and together they are one. That's why we've got to bring unity between the concept of Mashiach. We've got to bring unity between the whole of humanity. The Mashiach unites all of humanity. We all have a portion of his soul. We are all included in Adam. We are all included in Moshiach. We will all be included in David. I just have to keep reinforcing that. Point 6, then the initial letters of what was, is, that will be are Mem, Shin and He, spell Moshe. Okay? And that's where the rabbis come. And that's why they say that the Mashiach will be Moshe, come again. Okay? Moshe was the first Redeemer. He will be the last Redeemer. Okay, and he's gone through another process, the process of Moshe. Moshe was the first Redeemer. He is Moshiach ben Yosef, came in the capacity of Moshiach ben Yosef. He will come again in the capacity of Moshiach ben David. Ultimately, it's the soul of Moshiach, who was Moshe, who is Yeshua, and who will be David. Okay, right. So we've got that connection to the stick of Yehuda. And then point 8, Ulchol Ma'ora Hagadol. This is taken from the very last verse in Torah, and this connects up to the Arizal commentary. And I've gone through this a lot, this verse all the time. I've just recently gone through it in the last teaching, pretty sure. Yes, I did. I went through this. So if you're not sure, go to the last teaching that I did and go through that, and you'll pick up some teaching about what Arizal said regarding the final appearance of Moshiach, the final appearance of Moshe as Moshiach, and he bases his teachings on this verse in Deuteronomy, the last verse, 32:12. Okay, there's lots of different verses, but this is one that he definitely points out in that teaching to show that the final appearance of Moshe will be as Mashiach. And he's really talking about Mashiach ben David, but he does go through and make reference to Moshe in his capacity as the suffering servant, which is him in his capacity as Mashiach ben Yosef. So Ul Chol Me'ora Hagadol comes to 386, which is Yeshua, and that also is 122, which connects us up to Behold, I have refined you, and connects us to Yosef, and connects us to Moshe, point 6. What was, is, that will be. The 122, you can see it in purple. All those things are all linked together. Okay, so wonderful stuff. And I just wanted to point out that that whole concept, what the rabbis say from point 6, what was, is, that will be. It was the soul of Moshiach. It's Adam. It was Adam that sinned and Adam that will be rectified. And this is all, it's all one concept. Adam, Moshe, Moshiach, Yeshua, David, all one. In fact, Adam, which is the Aleph, what's the other one? Adam. So the word Adam stands for is an anagram of. Sorry, not an anagram. What do you call it now? When the initial letters. Just wait a minute. It'll come to me. Anyway, I'm not even gonna. I can't bring it to mind. But basically, the initial letters of Adam, like it's an Aleph, Daleth, Mem, for Adam. They stand for Adam, David, and Moshiach. Okay, so then again, even in the word Adam, we've got this unity, if you like. This unity between those concepts, Adam, Moshiach, and David. Okay, right, I think I've covered all that. That 508 is a highly significant number. That's Serach, the woman who found the bones of Yosef with Moshe, and it's also dawn. The letters can rearrange for dawn, Shachar, and it's also Yitzchak ben Avraham. There's loads and loads of highly significant things connected to that 508. But I've just gone through this to just go over that concept that Moshe is to reappear again. Right, so back to this page then. So Moshe is Yeshua, Pinchas 208, Moshe 81 ordinarily, Yeshua 127 comes to 208, which is exactly the same as Moshiach ben David, ordinarily plus Moshiach ben Yosef 116, 92 and 116 comes to 208. There you go, there's another concept there, 208. And why is it connected to Pinchas? It's connected to Pinchas because Pinchas was zealous. And Moshe and Yeshua are both zealous. You have to be zealous. King David was zealous for the name of YHVH. So there's got to be this zeal, this desire to serve only YHVH and not tolerate serving anything else at all. Okay, so I've gone over this loads, but I'm going to reinforce it again because I'm making big statements with what the things that I'm saying. Okay, so and with big statements, you need big. You need some big evidence. You need some very significant evidences. And like I say, we're reviewing things over and over and over again because we're living in a times where we will forget. So we need to review in order to remember. Right, so Hama Aroth, the luminaries, this is the rectified spelling, comes to 658, which, by the way, is the regular and the ordinal of Nana, Nachman, Nachman, Me'uman. So we've already pointed out that Nana, Nachman, Nachman, Me'uman, which is this very famous saying from Rabbi Nachman. Okay, and like I said, I went through that in last lesson, and if you want to pick up what I said in there, please do. However, the Nana, Nachman, Nachman, Me'uman comes to 491 regularly, plus an ordinal of 167. I'm speaking from memory now. 491 plus 167. Yeah, it comes to 658. So 658 is connected again to the Nana, Nachman, Nachman, Me'uman. That's connected to the filling out of Yeshua. The ordinal, the first filling ordinal, and the second filling ordinal. We've just gone through the 491. And that also comes to Nana, Nachman, Nachman, Me'uman. So I just want to point that out. That is also connected there. Right, so the luminaries come to 658 plus 73, which come to 731. So that's when it's spelled rectified. That includes the two vavs. In the Torah, it's spelled defective with two missing vavs. And this is the whole concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, in a state of continual poverty. We've just looked at that verse when it mentioned the crucible of poverty. Right, let's just go back so we can reinforce this, because this is so significant. Let me just do it. Poverty. If I go look for poverty, it might show up. Yeah, here, look. I have chosen for you the crucible of poverty. Right, that's the way Moshiach survives exile. Poverty really represents death. And I've gone through this teaching before, like a poor man is equivalent to a dead man. Moshiach ben Yosef is in a continual state of poverty. It's like being held in a continual state of death. And it's this very much associated with the letter Vav, because Vav is associated with life. So obviously it's the opposite to the Vav. So we're in exile, we've got missing Vavs. It means that we are impoverished. Really, what is our true poverty is we're lacking a revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Vav. It is the source of life. It's a tree of life. We are lacking in that. So the whole concept of the Moshiach ben Yosef is very connected to this concept of the diminished Vav, or the missing letter Vav. Okay, and there's all kinds of ways in which this can be pulled out. If you listen to my teachings, you'll come across it all the time. It's like Yaakov as a missing Vav in his name. Rectified, he has an additional Vav, and sometimes 5 times in Tanakh he has an additional Vav in his name. So he's spelt Yod, Yod, Ayin, Kof, Vav, Bet. So this additional Vav, and I've said that 5 times in Tanakh, Eliyahu has got a missing Vav from his name, Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, and it's Elijah the prophet that gives his Vav over to Yaakov, and 5 times in Tanakh, Yaakov's got an extra Vav. Okay, and this Vav represents the truth. It's really the truth that is missing. It's the truth that is missing. And this is written about in the Talmud when it talks about the sages, the wisdom of the sages will stink, and the truth is missing. Okay, so we haven't got the truth regards the concept of Moshiach ben Yosef, and therefore we haven't got the truth regards an assessment of these last 6,000 years of history in which we have been rectified and putting the sin of Adam, correcting the sin of Adam, and this has been the 6,000 years of history. We're getting very close to the end of that history. Okay, but this 6,000 years of history, we have not got a clear revelation of the name Yod-Heh-Vav through it. We cannot perceive Yod-Heh-Vav clearly. Therefore, we do not have the truth associated with these 6 days of creation, these 6 big days of creation that are 6 days, and 6 is the letter Vav. It's all connected. It's all one concept. It's really about coming from a state of death to a state of life. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil represents death. We're wanting to attach to a tree of life, and that's very much associated with the letter Vav. So we've got these luminaries with the letter Vav, and it is loads, and like I say, so we're in this crucible of poverty being refined, and the Moshiach is in the crucible of poverty being refined, and we are a part of that. And he is, the soul of Moshiach is on the one hand being refined through us, but he's the power and the strength that is helping us to get through this rectification process, and prevent us from failing in our mission, if you like, going to the 50th level of impurity. There's 50 levels of impurity. If we get to the 50th level, we can't return from there, i.e. we cannot go back to our former status in Gan Eden before the fall of man. So this is what I mean by we're all connected, and we're all in a state of poverty. We're all like dead people, really. Until we are fully attached to the name Yod-Heh-Vav, we are lacking, greatly lacking. And we are lacking in truth. We're not able to perceive true reality. We're perceiving exile, and exile causes us to forget true reality. And this is why we've got to continually remember, and bring all these concepts together and reinforce. And that will help us to get out of this exilic mindset which we are enslaved in now. So, poverty associated with the letter Vav. Right, I'm getting a little bit lost now. Let's go back. Okay, so all right, so we're where we are with the luminaries, and that's why I've gone over that to highlight the point. In the Torah, there's two missing vavs from the luminaries. The luminaries mean the sun and the moon, and they mean Moshiach ben Yosef and Moshiach ben David. So they come to 731. The next point down, Moshe 345 plus Yeshua 386 comes to 731. So there's your connection. They are the luminaries. Together they are the luminaries. They are the sun and the moon. 731, next point down is Melech Israel, king of Israel. Melech Israel means the king of Israel. Comes to 631 regular, 100 ordinally. That's 731. 731 is Tov, which is 17. Good, which represents the good inclination, which represents Yaakov, which represents the truth, times Esav. And Esav is Yaakov's brother. There've never been peace between them. There will in the end be peace between them, and Moshiach will accomplish this. Yaakov represents Israel. Esav represents the 70 nations. Together they are 71, and that's connected to the concept of Yonah. Yonah is 71. I've gone over and over this many times. So we need to rectify Esav. We need to subdue Esav to the side of holy. We need to subdue. Esav represents our power to receive. Yaakov represents our power to give. So we need to rectify our power to receive from desiring to receive for our selfish needs, our selfish, egotistical, our needs and lusts and greeds. And rectify that, bring peace to this urge to receive, and transform that from selfish and self-destructive into receiving, desiring to receive for the sheer sake of bringing pleasure to YHVH, who desires to give. He doesn't want us to be in a place of death and poverty. He wants us to be connected to him, who is the source of all life, the tree of life. He desires this, but he can't give us what he wants to give us because we haven't got a vessel that is able to contain that at this time. We have got selfish, egotistical, self-destructive desires, and that cannot contain what YHVH desires to give us. We've got to change our vessels into vessels of Shalom. There's got to be peace between our body and soul, and that peace is what will be able to receive that YHVH desires to receive, and that takes the whole of us to go through this rectification process to transform that chaos, to transform that particular selfish, egotistical urge into something holy. Like just for the sheer sake of the name YHVH, to give our Creator pleasure. Right, so so 731 is Tov, which is good inclination, times Esav. Esav is 43 ordinally. And Esav represents the evil inclination, and we need to rectify Esav. We need to bring him over from the place of chaos to a place of Shalom. Right, the parasha Kitisa also is. I'm just going to mark these up differently now. I'll just mark them up, A, B, and C, things like that. Just wait a minute if I can. Nope, it's definitely not letting me. Right, so Kitisa then. I'll just have, all right. I can't mark them up any differently. So Kitisa is the next point down under where it says Tov, good inclination, 731. So Kitisa, when you take, comes to 731 plus 65, and that comes to 796. 65 is the concept of mezuzah, and it's also the name Adonai, which is 2.5 times the name YHVH. And there's got to be. Really, Adonai represents Malkuth, and YHVH represents, which is represented by the letter He, and YHVH is represented by the letter Vav. So there's got to be a union between the Vav and the He. Okay. And that's, in a way, represented by the concept of the mezuzah. The name Adonai is how we pronounce the name YHVH. Mezuzah comes to 65. It's put on the gateposts, on the doorposts of the house and on the gates. And really this is the whole concept of the intermediary. The gate is the passage between the vast infinite outside and the inside. isn't it? You know, so it's like a connection between the physicality and spirituality. It's a connection between the finite and the infinite. You know, there's all kinds of, we've got to pass through a gate. There's got to be an intermediary between that that's infinite and that that's finite. That gate is Moshiach. Just as we've got the gate, is the name Yod Adonai, is a gate to the name YHVH, which is infinite, and Adonai represents the final letter here of the name YHVH, and YHVH represents the letter Vav, and there's got to be unity between the Vav and the He, and that unity comes when the Vav is empowered with the truth. It's like Yaakov empowered with the truth can finally subdue physical reality down, okay, until we create heaven on earth. You know, there's all Kabbalistic. Basically, it's, you know, bringing peace between body and soul, between heaven and earth, you know, so that YHVH can actually dwell with us in physical reality. There's lots of different coded messages for saying exactly the same thing, you know, and it's connected to the name YHVH, basically. And the name YHVH is a code for this in a lot of ways. Look, there's nothing other than the name YHVH. Everything is contained within that name. The concept of Moshiach and everything, heaven and earth, everything. There's nothing that is not within that name. There is only that name. So everything can be traced back to the name. The name is the tree of life. So everything is connected to the name YHVH. All right, so the next point then couldn't be more relevant, right? So when you take comes to 731, and plus we've got this whole concept of 65, which is the concept of the mezuzah, concept of the gate, concept of the intermediary, which is all related to Moshiach. Right, 796 is 2 times 398. 398 is B'Shemi, in my name. This is talking about the prophet that comes. Let me just read it, actually. This is talking about the prophet that comes like Moshe. Well, it says like me. Let me read. A prophet from your midst, from your brethren, like me, Hashem your God, establish for you. Shall Hashem your God establish for you to take? You shall listen to him shall you listen, according to all that you asked of Hashem your God in Horeb on the day of the congregation, saying, I can no longer hear the voice of Hashem my God, and this great fire I can no longer see, so that I shall not die. Then Hashem said to me, they have done well in what they have said. I will establish a prophet for them from among their brethren like you, and I will place my words in his mouth. He shall speak to them everything that I will command him. And it shall be that the man who will not hearken to my words, that he shall speak in my name. And the in my name is B'Shemi. I will extract from him. But the prophet who wilfully shall speak a word in my name, that which I have not commanded him to speak, who shall speak in the name of the gods of others, that prophet shall die. Okay, so that's basically a warning to listen to the true prophet and to be very cautious of a false prophet. But it's B'Shemi, the prophet like Moshe, or like you. It depends who's speaking. When Moshe's speaking, it's like me, and then when YHVH is speaking, he says like you. So, but no matter what, it comes in the name YHVH, B'Shemi, in my name, and that comes to 352 plus 46. And that comes to 398. So that links us back to when you take Ketisa, which also links us also to the 731, which is what we've been going on over just now. Right, let me just blank that out. Right, the 352 that I've just mentioned is also is 4 times 88, and 88 is Yonah, which is 35, plus Yeshua, 53. So this is very much, this is the concept of Yonah and Yeshua together, very much linked to the prophet that speaks in my name. Yeshua said, the only sign I'll give you is the prophet, is a sign of Yonah. So there's a very much a profound connection between Yeshua and Yonah, and this comes up all the time. All the time, and all my teachings, I'm always pointing out the whole concept of Yonah. Yonah means dove. It's the prophet Jonah, means the dove. It's the whole story about the descent into the belly of the whale, just like the Moshiach has had to descend into exile with us to suffer. It's and our soul has got to descend into the body. And the name YHVH has got to descend into physical creation in order to dominate it. And we're all part of that process too. So it's the descent really from the high heavens into this limited physical reality that's finite. And that's all symbolised by the prophet Yonah. And then the fact that Yonah went to the nations of Nineveh, and that Nineveh wasn't a Jewish nation, it was a non-Jewish nation. And the king repented, and the king is supposed to be the Pharaoh of Exodus. There's all things that have gone on over and over many, many times. Right, so that connects us to Yonah, connects us to Moshiach, Yeshua, and what he says confirms that there is a great deal of truth in what he says. Only the Moshiach could have known to the degree that the whole concept of Yonah is embedded in the entire Torah and embedded in the entire concept of Moshiach ben Yosef. When you are revealing the truth about Moshiach ben Yosef that's hidden, every single time you will find reference to Yonah numerically. One word is everywhere throughout the entire Torah, the Tanakh, and the Talmud. Everywhere, the whole concept of Jonah comes up again and again and again and again, endlessly. Right, the next point then, to meet, likrot, I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's to meet, comes to 731. This is, and it's also 74 ordinally, which is 2 times, 74 is 2 times Yeshu, 2 times Yeshu, 2 times Yeshu, which is 2 times 37, and 37 is also the soul level of Yechida, which is the soul level of Moshiach ben Yosef. So we know that it was with the will of YHVH to cause to cause the Yechida, the soul level of Yechida of the Moshiach, which is completely and totally one with the name YHVH, by the way, because at the level of Yechida, the vessels and the lights are one, i.e. the soul of Moshiach and the name YHVH completely one. I've gone over this concept many times, but that 37, which is the ordinal of the name Yeshu, is also the regular of the soul level Yechida, which is the tip of the Yod, the crown. Think about what we're suffering from now. Whole humanity is suffering from coronavirus. That means the crown. You know, YHVH is doing wonderful things right now through all this evil that we're seeing. But the first word in Torah that equals 730 is this, to meet. And that's where we find that in Genesis 15:10. This, however, is also in Genesis 46:29. And in Genesis 46:29, the meeting is the meeting between Yosef and Yaakov. You know, Yosef went to meet Yaakov. Yisrael is called in this particular verse, so you can go and have a look at 46:29. In fact, I'll bring it up now. We'll just have a quick look. 46:29. I've got my Tanakh here, so let's have a look, because it's all beautiful. 29. It's Yosef harnessed his chariot and went to meet Israel, his father, in Goshen. He appeared before him, fell on his neck, and he wept on his neck excessively. And the gematria in that verse is incredible. It all points to Yeshua being the Mashiach. Everything about that is incredible, wonderful gematria that reveals who the Mashiach is. Okay, so, and then we've also got death swallowed up eternally from Isaiah 25:8. The regular of that comes to 731. Okay, so that is when we finally get rectification of the Moshiach, rectification of the final Adam, rectification of the entire of humanity that will come about as a union between all the concepts of Moshiach, which is all the levels of soul, which is all the aspects of the name YHVH, which is all the 5 books of Torah, which is all the 5 books of Tehillim. There's all these wonders, which is all the 5 worlds. It's all connected. Okay, then when we get that union, death will be swallowed up. Because we'll just have life. No more poverty. No more poverty. No more diminution of the luminaries. No more. The luminaries will shine brightly and we will be part of that brightness and we will be revived, brought back to life, brought back to truth, true reality, redeemed from this horrendous exilic mindset which causes us to see only our suffering and not our the eternal truth of the name YHVH and all that he's accomplishing. Okay, and there's also this one from Genesis. Let me just put that on another line actually. Oh, it's not working very well then. Okay, let's just do it a different way. So we've got this one, which is, I can't get it to go on to a different line now. Just wait a minute. Let me see if I can do it that way. Yeah, finally got to do it. Right, ask for my name. This is taken from Genesis 32:30. Very curious. Look, we've got the Shemi again, haven't we? My name, as in he comes in my name. But in this time, it's referring to Yaakov. This is the fight, isn't it, between Yaakov and his guardian, Esav's guardian angel. The fight all night. Let me just make sure I've got that right. 32, what is the verse? 32:30. Right, so 32:30 is, then Yaakov inquired, and he said, divulge, if you please, your name. And he said, why then do you inquire of my name, ask of my name? And he blessed him there. Okay, so really incredible stuff. This also comes to 731. So we've got this. This is where there's, this is Yaakov who represents Yisrael. This fight causes his name to be changed from Yaakov to Israel. But the angel he's fighting with is actually the guardian angel of Esav, which is really Satan, the angel of death. He's fighting with the angel of death. And he asks for, the angel of death, or Hasatan, or guardian angel of Esav. He's asking, well, what's your name? But he's asking the angel, what's your name? It comes to 731, basically. So there's something epically related about this to the whole concept of the luminaries, to Moshe and Yeshua, to Melech Israel, to the good inclination and Esav. This is the massive fight between good and evil. Right there, this is the massive fight between good and evil. Who prevails? Good prevails. The good will overcome the inclination to do good, to serve YHVH for the sake of his name, which is the truth. That's the only thing that we should be serving. It's the only true reality. Everything else is a delusion and a lie and fantasy fiction that's inspired by our evil inclination, that's drawn after lusts and fantasy and fiction, and to serve itself. It sees Esav sees themselves as independent from the name YHVH. Sees its unity and separation as opposed to unity and oneness. So this is the epic battle, and who wins in the end? The good wins in the end. The soul defeats the body's delusion with the truth. Okay, so this is all connected. And it's all one concept. It's truth over lies ultimately. What wins in the end? The truth wins in the end. We're living in a world of lies. This is not the fight. This is not how it will end. The truth will defeat. The truth will defeat the lie. The Moshiach will defeat the Nachash, the serpent. That's why they've got the same gematria. That's why they're opposite one another. But I was thinking about this today. In fact, I put it on my Facebook account. The things that we should do, we're not here to defeat evil, ultimately. We're not here to defeat evil. Our battle is not. There is an amount of it. Obviously, we have to we have to rectify evil. We have to subdue evil as opposed to defeat it. We have to utilize it for good. That's what we've got to do with evil. You know, it's like our body. We're not here to kill our bodies. Our bodies represent evil. Our bodies represent the evil inclination. Our bodies represent Esav. Our bodies represent the nations. Our bodies represent physicality. We're not here to destroy that. We're here to utilize it. Okay, so we're here to utilize that and transform it into a blessing. And that's when, after this battle, the blessing was given to Yaakov. He was blessed with the name Yisrael. Okay, and it just mentions it there, doesn't it? What does it say again? And he blessed him there. Okay, so this is a place of great blessing, isn't it? When that angel is finally subdued. So ask for my name comes to 731 plus 380, which comes to 1111. Very significant number. This is the same as Melech Yisrael, which with a Mispah Gadol. So we've already got reference to Melech Yisrael up above. We're wanting to establish the King of Israel. We're wanting the King of Israel is the Moshiach. He's Moshiach ben David. We're wanting the King of Israel. He's also the King of the nations. He's absolutely also the King of the nations. These teachings point that out all the time. But really, predominantly, the King of Israel will dominate over the King of the nations. Okay, this is primarily the King of Israel. So Melech Yisrael, the Mispah Gadol, when the Chaf is worth 500 rather than 20, it comes to 1111 also. Okay, so there's all these glorious things just from there. I think I'm going to leave the teaching there. I did actually want to go through. I'm going to leave it for another teaching. I'm going to go do another. So pay attention to this teaching if you want more of like this and you want to review it. I'm going to flick up the screen just in case you didn't get chance. If you don't get chance. Right, I am going to go through this Tehillim 25. Why is it related to the number that we've just gone through in Pinchas? If we go down to point 8, we will see in my name Deuteronomy. We'll see the 352 plus the 46 ordinally comes to 398. 398 is 2 times 119. And you'll see all the in red, there's quite a few times it's mentioned 199. 199 times 2 is 398. But it's also connected again to this number 88. Okay, so we've just come across those two numbers, and then very much related to this verse is that same concept. So you can have a read through if you like of that, just in case you don't get time to do the teaching, and then I will do the next teaching based on just going through this, because it's absolutely glorious and wonderful, and it's reinforcing some of these concepts over and over and over and over again until we are very clear what is before us, what Yod He Vav He is doing was, and when we can see very clearly what Yod He Vav He has been doing in the 6,000 years of history, and then we can see, well, it's actually perfectly aligning to what is written in Torah. This can give us amun of a bitachon, trust and belief in the name Yod He Vav He, and then we don't need to panic, we don't need to fear. It becomes like riding a wave. You know, we're riding on the crest of the wave rather than drowning under the force of all this chaos that's around us in this world at this time. You know, we can feel very much confident and safe and secure in our knowledge of the name Yod He Vav He. It brings that knowledge of the name Yod He Vav He and all the wonderful ways in which He's working brings us to a place of Shalom. And where these external forces and this external reality and the things that appear to be evil do not trouble us anymore. Okay, and that's going from a place of exile into redemption. And with that, I will say Shalom.